Hi everyone, Becca here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sewing up the I Love 90's dress from Ellie and Mac, and I will be walking you through these steps from cutting it out all the way to hemming it and finishing it up. I will be doing the short sleeve version with the lower back option for the girls pattern, and this tutorial will be helpful no matter what sleeve length you're doing, or even if you are doing the adult, everything will be the same steps. So I will be gathering the skirt with using elastic, and I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but that's just my method. If you are interested in checking that out, I will link a video down below where I walk you through step by step of how to gather with elastic if that interests you, but you can gather it however you want. And I will also be using a different fabric for my lining just to save on the fabric that I have. So really all you need is your fabric that you'll be using, your lining fabric if you're using a different lining, then elastic if that's how you want to gather, and your machines. You can do this on a serger or you can do this on a sewing machine with a stretch stitch. So let's get started. Alright, so I am going to be making the back bodice with the high-low. So there's two different options for the back bodice to adjust how the skirt lays, but I like to do the high-low, so I will cut that out. But what I'm going to need is my main fabric, and I'm going to just be using solid black for the lining just to save some of my pretty fabric because this is cheaper. You can use the same fabric if you would like, totally up to you. And then I'm also going to be gathering with clear elastic, so I have that here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get my pieces cut out. Alright, so once you have everything cut out, you should have a front and back skirt piece, and they are not the same. So make sure you know which skirt piece is your front and which one is your back. The curves at the top are slightly different, so you want to make sure you pay attention to that. I like to, sometimes I'll just put a little label on them, or I'll pin it so I know which one's the front and which one's the back. But just make sure you know which one is which. Then you also have your front and back bodice and your front and back bodice lining. So that is all you're going to need. And then if you are gathering with elastic, I have my clear elastic pieces. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same steps with our lining and our main bodice pieces. So you're going to lay them out on top of each other, right sides together, and you're going to line up your shoulder seams on both of those, right sides together, and we are going to go sew our shoulder seams up on both of these. So we're just going to sew each shoulder seam of each piece. So you should have 4 stitches that we're doing. Once you have those seams sewn, you're going to open up one of them. It doesn't matter which one you do this on, whether it's your lining or your main piece, and then you're going to take your other bodice piece and you're going to put the front on top of each other with right sides together and your backs on top of each other with right sides together. And we are going to line up our neck hole. So I like to start by lining up my shoulder seams and just clipping those, and then just kind of going around and clipping the rest of the neck hole together. And so I will clip that all the way around. And then once that's all clipped, I have only done one side, but you're just going to go around and you are going to sew all the way around this, overlapping at one point. So this will just be a whole full circle, and I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. Once you have sewn that neck hole, you'll see it looks like this, and what you're going to do is you're just going to take one layer and pull it around and push it in through your neck hole and turn that out like this. Then you will have your nice clean neckline, and you could understitch it if you wanted to. You could go in here and stitch the seam down to your lining, but I usually find that I don't need to do that, and that it actually ends up making my garment lay not very nicely. So I just leave it like this. And so once you have your bodice pieces sewn together, you are going to take your skirt pieces, your front and back, and we are going to gather them separately. So we're just going to use whatever your preferred method is and gather your front skirt piece and gather your back skirt piece. So I will go and gather these. Like I said, I'm using elastic. I will link a video down below of how to gather with elastic if you would like to try this method, but you can use whatever method you want to gather these, and you just want to make sure that they fit your bodice. So make sure, especially for this pattern, because your front bodice and your back bodice pieces are different and your skirt pieces are different, make sure you have the right pieces for your front and the back, and make sure that you are making sure your front piece matches your front bodice and your back piece matches your back bodice, because they are not the same distances across. Once you have your skirt pieces gathered, they should match up to the right size of your bodice. So we are just going to take our bodice, we'll take one piece, and this is my back skirt, so I'm going to just line up my edges. You want to make sure that you are lining up the raw edges of your bodice main and your bodice lining as well, because you want to make sure you catch all of those in when you attach your skirt. So you'll just pin or clip your gathered skirt to your bodice, and you should have those come out to being the same size with your raw edges matching up with the sides. This is the back, and we will do the same thing for the front. We will match up your skirt pieces, and because this is a curve, you're going to have to ease it on there just a little bit, but you'll just pin this down to that, and again making sure you catch your front bodice and or your main bodice and your lining in there as well. And then we'll just go over to our machine and we will sew this on around there. And so I will go ahead and do that, and I will be back. Okay, so I got my skirt pieces sewn on, and I did forget to mention, if you are doing a basic gather without elastic and you're just doing basting stitches across, I would baste your skirt on first and then serge it if that's how you were going to do it. It just gives it a much nicer finish. I know it's an extra step, but it's 100% worth it. And I also, no, I forgot when I was talking about all of the pieces you need, I forgot to mention the sleeves. I am doing the short sleeve, so what I am going to do, this is the same whether you're doing the long sleeves or the short sleeves. You're going to take your bodice and open it up, making sure your lining and your main bodice are lined up, and you're going to take one of your sleeves and you are going to find the center point of your sleeve and match it up with your shoulder seam right sides together. Going to match it up, and then you're just going to kind of ease it in and match it on the way down, and you're going to make sure that your point of your sleeve matches up with your bodice. And so just then when you go around and sew, you will kind of have to ease that in to make sure it fits on the curve. But we're going to do this on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to my machine and sew these sleeves on and be back. Once you have your sleeves on, it's going to look like this regardless of, the only difference is the sleeve length. If you're doing like 3/4 or long sleeves, then your sleeves are obviously going to be longer, but everything is still the same. What you're going to do, is you are going to flip your dress so that it's right sides together. And I like to start with my armpit seams, and I clip those. And then I come down to my skirt seam, and I like to line those up and clip those. And the rest I just kind of will line up as I sew, but I do that on both sides. So you want your seams to line up and have that nice clean finish and not be lopsided when you're sewing, or when you're done, I mean. Once you have those marked, what you're going to do is you're just going to head over to your machine, and you're going to sew from the arm all the way down the bodice and all the way down your skirt, and you're going to do that on both sides. Once you have sewed up those side seams, there's these extra strings here, so you can just cut those off. You are basically done. You can see I have what looks like a dress. And the very last thing we need to do is hem our sleeves and our skirt. I like to turn my garment right side out when I am hemming it. I just find it easier for me, but this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so you just can go around and you can pin and clip. I won't do the whole thing here, but then you're just going to take it over to a sewing machine or cover stitch if you have one. I do not have one, so I do it on my regular machine with a stretch stitch. Personally, I like to do my hemming on a skirt like this with a triple zigzag stitch, because you don't really need a lot of stretch there, and it also, if you do it right over the edge, it kind of encloses that edge to keep it from raveling. And then on my sleeves, this is also a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I like to do more of a lightning bolt stitch or a triple straight stitch for my sleeves. But you will just mark all of those at 1/2 inch and hem both sleeves and your skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we will be done. Once you have hemmed your sleeves and skirt, you are done, and look how cute this turns out. This is one of my favorite go-to patterns for my daughter. It's so cute, and it is really simple once you do it, and the bodice curve is just so unique and really cute. And yeah, I just love this pattern, and I hope this was helpful. I do want to show you as well. I sewed one up for myself, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is the adult version with the 3/4 sleeves. And as I mentioned at the beginning, these steps are all the same for the adult and the child version, so this will help you with either of those. But I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. I will link the pattern in the description if you do not have it yet. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at SewBex is my handle, and if you sew up an I Love 90's dress after watching this video, make sure you tag me so I can see all of your beautiful creations. And then also give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you're notified of any future videos. Bye!